Good morning, everyone. Creator Mom. So, I was just thinking about how my ex is, yeah, he is, mentally, emotionally, religiously, even too, um, speaking, and financially, has that, abusive tendencies, it's just, the control, the manipulation, the gaslight. It's just, I don't want to say it's subtle, but it's, it's kind of covert. But anybody who gets to know him would easily detect after a bit of speaking to him that, you know, hmm. But, when I eloped, I was 24, 25, and, I had my own situation going on, and I wanted what I wanted, and so everything happened fast. But I would say, I think it was after we got married. There might have been some signs beforehand. I can't remember if it was before because it was so fast. But I mean, I definitely saw signs afterwards of certain flags that I was like, okay, this is weird. Um, but I didn't leave, and I think that, part of the reason why I didn't leave was because I wasn't sure. First of all, like, I saw things, but I wasn't really like educated on, you know, what a red flag would look like, and I don't even know if I had the self-confidence to be like, oh, that's a red flag, or he did something that hurt my feelings. I'm out of here. You know what I mean? It's kind of like you just don't know better in a way. Like, something's up, but you're just like, you don't feel confident enough to act on it because you think, well, you give the benefit of the doubt and you think, well, maybe I'm just making a big deal out of it. Maybe I'm just wrong or whatever. You just think you're wrong, and then, when certain things that you see that are wrong get presented and then are minimized or said like you're being the crazy one or whatever, um, you just kind of stay. You're just like, and there was this video I watched on Facebook. Who was talking? I forgot. This one therapist. God, I forgot these names. Anyways, these therapists were talking, and they said something about like when you were young and you got molested or whatever happened to you, did you tell anyone? And mostly likely it's no, because you were alone, really. Like, you didn't feel like you had anyone to go to or to turn to. You kept it to yourself. You handled it in your own self as a child. And I feel that, which happened to me too. I was like, oh wow, that's crazy. Like, you may have felt alone, like you didn't have any like really safe person to share like what was going on with you. Everything was so fucking weird. So I feel like that same reasoning kind of like applied to where like I was feeling like something was wrong or saw things that were wrong, and I reacted to them, but I didn't know how to like consciously be like, okay, oh wow, that's what he did, and that's what this is, or that's gaslighting, or you know what I mean? I just defaulted to thinking that like that, yeah, maybe I was overreacting or whatever. and, making a big deal out of something that was nothing or something like that. But I also didn't have any safe thing to return to. You know what I mean? There was no like safe family to return to. It was like I made a decision and I was just I'm just sticking with it. I don't have I at that time maybe I thought like I don't really have a choice or something like that. It's just like, oh well, this train is moving. You can't hop off this train now. Like this train has departed and there's no getting off of it. Yeah, so I kept riding that train. And I didn't know he was really mentally abusive. It's just like you just don't realize because it's and even the courts, they don't recognize emotional abuse. They don't care really. I mean, they care about the children, of course. Like if you say like your spouse is being mentally abusive to children, that's where like they'll probably step in and you'll have to go through a whole process or whatever. But they don't really recognize mental, emotional abuse, power-based violence that much. They only recognize physical violence. Just like the paralegals, like if you want to get not the paralegals, the pro bono lawyers, like if you're in an emergency, you need to get a divorce, they handle people who are going through physical violence and physical threats, only. They don't really help people who are going through like shit you can't prove, like through physical abuse. So yeah, it's like in my situation, there wasn't really anywhere for me to turn, and I had no money. I could have made choices within the marriage that would have helped me had I known better. You know what I mean? Had I known like, okay, I think I kind of made a mistake here, and secretly told within myself, said, all right, this is what I'm gonna do. I got pregnant pretty quickly too. I got pregnant probably a few months later. But see, like had I known better after those few months, and sure, say even I would have had one child, I still could have made certain plans had I really understood who this person was and what their personality disorder was. You know what I mean? The things I was witnessing was real and had names to it. But I'm not saying all this to say they're still learning. It's all learning. It's all learning. And I just say, like, when we end up with these narcissists, we learn about ourselves. We learn about what narcissism is. We learn why we were drawn to that relationship. We learn why we didn't get out. The self-confidence, the self-worth, the self-doubt we had. You know what I mean? All these things contributed to why we didn't leave, right? And people could sit there and say, well, girl, that's your fault. You know what I mean? Yeah, that is my fault. You're right. But again, life is a learning journey. Like, we don't come in knowing and doing everything. So narcissistic, when you end up with a narcissist, you learn. You kind of go through a lesson. So, yeah, so had I had a different mindset, I probably wouldn't have eloped and all that shit. You know what I mean? Because it all started in my family of origin. It's not, my ex isn't, he's like a secondary issue, So, yeah, well, anyways, like, say I did know better and I got into a wrong situation, and then I was like, oh shit, okay, he exhibits these behaviors and this is what's going on, and And had I not fallen into self-doubt, I could have made a plan for myself and said, all right, what I'm going to do is stay married to him for now. Oh, I could have also, redacted the marriage. You know, you can do that. I forgot what that's called. Whoever's watching this probably knows what I'm talking about. You know, like, oh shit, we did that by mistake. If you know what I'm saying, that would have been a great idea. We got married in Tennessee, though. That would have been a great idea. But even then, I still could have made a plan for myself and said, okay, I'm going to find a job here. I'm going to be like, hey, yeah, I want to work. Find a job, get busy with working, get my own bank account, save money. I could have done all these things, and I could have built myself up, or tried to, and I could have found my own place, you know, here in Kentucky, and not have gotten pregnant, and not have went down that whole road. Like, I could have spared myself all of that. But imagine how, you know, it's so interesting to think about how different life's journey would be had I took that path. And I'm not saying that path would have been more perfect or something like that. You know, but I'm going to learn what I need to learn, period, regardless. And I love this idea that, like, you can't make mistakes. You know what I mean? Like, you are... I like that idea. You know what I'm saying? Because it helps you to, you know, just be like, okay, like, life's a learning journey. I'm going to trust. I'm going to trust God to carry me through this. You know what I mean? I'm not going to beat myself up. How many people have fallen into bad relationships? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is just a common fucking thing. It's almost like these people are training grounds for us. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, here's your training period to come out of this cloud of self-doubt and not good self-confidence. You're going to go through this training ground, and you're going to come out, and you're going to learn some shit, and you're going to develop. So... anyways, I kind of rambled on for a long time, but it said all that to say, like, I don't regret anything, but I was feeling regretful after the court date. I was, like, thinking, oh my God, like, I can't believe I did this. Like, I married this person, and now I'm stuck with them. Like, their craziness. But I can't lean into all that. You know, that was, you know, I had to process through that. And it was funny, like, when I got back from court, I was having a really hard time coming down. It was like, I was fine in the mediation, and I was fine driving home. But once I just was home for a while, like, I couldn't focus. Like, I had all these, I couldn't ground myself to be in that peace, flow, meditative flow state. I just was, like, all over the place, like, my energy. And so I think in these times, I do agree with, like, if using a beer or wine or something just to kind of, like, settle down. Yeah, water on the face, have a beer, just kind of, like, take it down. And then from there, we can, like, work with something. I'm not saying get batshit drunk or anything. No, I was like, use the alcohol as a little tool real quick if you really can't, like, down regulate, to help you just relax, you know. So anyways, yeah, I felt those feelings, those old feelings of worthlessness with being around him. So it's crazy. It's really crazy. And to think that I didn't know what was happening the whole time, like, it's just so wild. But now I'll know. All right, guys. Peace.